Jesus is standing in the temple, locked in a heated argument with a crowd. The tension has been building for an entire chapter. Then he says 5 words. Before Abraham was, I am. The crowd immediately picks up stones to kill him. What is it about those 2 words, I am, that provokes an instant death sentence? The answer takes us back to a burning bush in the desert. To understand why those words were so dangerous, we need to understand the range of things people believed and could believe about Jesus. Christology is the study of beliefs about the nature and identity of Jesus. In the early centuries of Christianity, there was no single agreed-upon answer. The options span a wide spectrum. Was Jesus merely human, a prophet, a Messiah, the Son of God, equal to God, or God himself? These debates consumed centuries, and John's Gospel is where the most extreme claims begin. Notice something important on this spectrum. The Synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, present Jesus as Messiah and Son of God. Those are significant claims, but John's Gospel climbs higher. It pushes past Son of God to equal with God, and then all the way to the top, Jesus claiming God's own divine name. John's Gospel doesn't just sit on this spectrum, it climbs it, and the author shows his hand in how he does it. Look at John chapter 5, verse 18. The Jewish leaders are angry because Jesus is calling God his own Father. Then the author inserts a crucial comment, thereby making himself equal to God. This is what scholars call an editorial gloss, an author's interpretive comment inserted into a narrative. Pause on that phrase. The leaders accused Jesus of calling God his Father. The author then tells you what that means. He was making himself equal to God. But that's the author's interpretation, not a logical necessity. Not every son is equal to his father. This editorial gloss reveals the author's own high Christology, a view of Jesus that emphasizes his divinity and equality with God. The author isn't just reporting events, he's shaping how you read them, and he doesn't stop there. In the verses that follow, Jesus elaborates. The Son does whatever the Father does. The Father has given all judgment to the Son. And here's the breathtaking part. All must honor the Son, just as they honor the Father. That phrase, just as, is doing enormous theological work. It claims functional equality between Jesus and God. And the author wants you to see this. He's built the argument deliberately. But John isn't done. Chapter 5 was radical. Chapter 8 goes further, all the way to the top of the ladder. And the way it gets there follows a pattern you'll see again and again in this gospel. A conversation that starts calm, turns hostile, and ends in violence. John chapter 8 opens with Jesus teaching in the temple. The conversation begins cordially enough, but disagreement sharpens. By verse 25, the crowd demands, "Who are you?" By verse 39, the argument turns personal, both sides claiming Abraham as their authority. By verse 48, the accusations turn vicious. You have a demon. The tension keeps climbing. Then at verse 56, Jesus makes a strange claim. Abraham rejoiced to see my day. The crowd scoffs. You're not even 50 years old and you've seen Abraham. And then, at the peak of this argument, Jesus says the 5 most explosive words in the gospel. Before Abraham was, I am. The Greek is eimi, and the crowd's response is immediate. They pick up stones to kill him. 2 claims are packed into those 5 words. First, the temporal claim. Jesus asserts pre-existence before Abraham, who lived roughly 2,000 years earlier. That alone is extraordinary. But the truly explosive element is eimi, I am. To grasp why, we need to go back 1,300 years before Jesus to a moment in the book of Exodus. Moses stands before a burning bush. God speaks from the fire and commissions Moses to lead Israel out of Egypt. Moses asks, "What is your name?" God answers with 4 Hebrew consonants, the tetragrammaton, Yod, He, Vav, He, YHWH. These 4 consonants are the most sacred name in Judaism, so sacred that pious Jews never speak it aloud. When reading scripture, they substitute the word Adonai, the Lord. The exact pronunciation is uncertain because no one has spoken it for centuries. In English Bibles, you see it rendered as Lord in small capital letters. Scholars believe the best translation is something like I am or beingness, pure existence itself. This is the name God revealed at the burning bush. And this is precisely the name Jesus claims in John 8:58. By saying ego eimi, I am, Jesus identifies himself with the God who spoke to Moses from the fire. The crowd understands immediately. They pick up stones, the prescribed punishment for blasphemy, and notice how far John has pushed. Jesus could be Son of God without being God. He could be Messiah without being divine. He could even be divine without claiming God's own name. John pushes past every intermediate position to the most radical claim possible. Step by step, from Son of God in the early chapters, to equal with God in chapter 5, to I am in chapter 8. This matters far beyond the Gospel of John. John's Christology became the primary engine for the development of Orthodox Christian doctrine. The great debates of the first several centuries, Arianism, the Council of Nicaea, the Nicene Creed, are essentially arguments about how literally to take John's claims. Did Jesus share God's essence, or was he a lesser divine being? Understanding John's Christological escalation is essential for understanding why Christianity developed the doctrine of the Trinity rather than remaining a movement that saw Jesus as a prophet or teacher. One final lesson. Notice the author's hand in the text. The editorial gloss at 518 is a window into how the gospel writer shapes theology. He doesn't just report what happened. He tells you what it means. When reading any ancient text, ask, where is the author interpreting events, and where is the author reporting them? This distinction is crucial for understanding not just John, but any historical or theological document. The crowd in the temple picked up stones. They understood exactly what Jesus was claiming. The question is whether you see the author standing behind him, telling you to understand it too.